Hello and welcome back to my podcast, Unwind and Knit with me. My name is Lisa and I'm coming to you from Christchurch, the South Island of New Zealand, and this is my little place where I talk about my knitting and my yarn and my patterns and what I've been up to. So if you are an existing viewer and an existing subscriber, welcome back, thank you. And if you are new to my podcast, welcome. I hope you enjoy the content. And as always, please subscribe and give it the thumbs up. It's very much appreciated. So today is Wednesday, the 19th of June, and it's been 5 weeks since my last podcast. And as all of my regular viewers will know, I've just returned from Canada. I was in Canada, I think, for about 27 days. I was away, nearly a month. And it was just amazing. I've been home a week and a half and I have made notes, and I'm going to try really hard to stick to my plan that I've got in front of me, but I just also feel like I've got so much to share. So I really hope that you have a cup of tea with you. I hope you have your knitting, and I hope you are in for the long haul, because this could be quite a long podcast and a chatty podcast. There isn't a lot of whips or FOs because of my travel, but there is a lot of new patterns and a lot of new yarn and just lots of new stuff. So I really hope I can get through this without too many interruptions. I know there's going to be one. So I'm actually sitting in front of a window today because it's really grey and gloomy and drizzly. It's cold. It's probably about 9 degrees, I think, is our high today. So I'm sitting in front of the window for better light, but I also know that the gas man's going to come and replace one of my gas cylinders. So we've had the heater pumping out pretty well every day since I've been home. So there may be a wee interruption with the gas man. So just a few intro things. Facebook and Instagram, I'm there as Unwind and Knit. There's also a community page, which I'd love it if you jump over and join. A couple of admin questions, you get approved, and that's just a really neat space where I share things, but it's where you can share things and I can get to see what you're up to. So that's on Facebook. Also, everything I talk about, any patterns that I talk about or yarns, I leave show notes below, so you can go on and click on those show notes and you will get directed to whatever the pattern or topic is that I've talked about. Thank you to everybody that visits my online store. I have a wee business here, and while I was away, my daughter looked after that, so thank you to everybody that continued to support that while I was away. The big announcement is, on my last podcast before I went away, we hit 3,000 subscribers. So for me, that's a huge milestone. I've been podcasting, it will be 3 years in August. So not far off now, so 3,000 subscribers. I'm super, super grateful to everyone that subscribes, and it was just a massive highlight for me to reach that milestone. And we did, I've got 2 prizes that I have done a random draw, a random selection for, and it was, you leave a comment using the word subscriber and I put the auto generator across it. So I have 2 winners to announce for 2 fabulous prizes. Also, so I got home last Sunday, and then I had a week to organise for Christchurch Wool Feast. So that's our annual yarn show that we have here in Christchurch. And I just want to thank everybody that come and said hello. It was a really good day. It's the one day a year that I always look forward to. I felt a little bit underprepared, but it all came together at the end, and it was a really good day. So hello to everyone, and thank you to everyone that come and saw me. Shout out to Marjorie, who I met, who sits down with a cup of tea every Sunday and knits along with me. So hi Marjorie, it was lovely to meet you. And I think that's all my admin things. So I'm going to get into a little bit about my trip to, so the purpose, or wasn't the purpose, but I built this Canadian trip around Knit City in Toronto, which is the Canadian big knitting show, and they have it annually in Toronto, but I know also Montreal. I can't think of the other place, but they alternate it. I know between Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver. It might be Vancouver and Calgary, but anyway, so I wanted to go to Knit City, and so this whole trip that we did was sort of based around that. So I will talk about that and people that I meet. I've got a couple of wee slideshows, photograph slideshows that I will insert just to share a bit of that with you. I know that if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you would have seen some photos that I posted, but I know that not all of you do Facebook and Instagram. So I will just pop in a few photos here and there as I talk about my trip. So first of all, I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing, but I'm just going to grab my coffee. So I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing, but I've already gone off. I've already moved away from my list on the order that I was going to do things. So I think it's going to be one of those shows where I'll probably be jumping around all over the place, because I'm just filled with so much excitement about things that I want to share with you. It's funny when you travel, because when you travel, you're in the moment, and there's stress, you're tired, you're moving, you're packing, you're unpacking. And it's not until you get home, I think like a week or so after you get home, that you really sit back and you reflect and you think like, wow, that was an amazing trip. And that's where I'm at. I've kind of just sort of in the last couple of days been doing a lot of reflecting. Anyway, so what I'm wearing is the Alden by Jen Steingass. There's the pattern there. I've done a couple of Jen Steingass's garments. I love the simplicity of the colour work. They're generally just two colours, your main colour and your contrast colour. And they're really well written patterns, and I think they always just look good and they fit good. And I just love it. So I finished this before I left, but I actually didn't take it away with me, so I haven't worn it. I knitted this in yarn that I got from my stash, and I don't even know if it's still available, but this yarn is from the Kindly dyer, and she's from the Wellington, Masterton area in the North Island, and I got this a few years ago at a yarn show there. So that was my main colour, and it's just a merino indie dyed yarn. But the contrast colour, I'm really, really happy about, and I really wanted to talk about it again to encourage people. So this is, the contrast colour it was a limited edition called Lydia, so I don't even know if it's still available. But it's an indie dyer, and his name's James. So hi James, because I know that he watches. And James has a new yarn store in the Wairarapa area, and it's called Joy of Yarn, and he dyes his own yarn. I bought this purely on impulse. I bought it not even knowing what I wanted it for. I just really liked it, and that's what it looks like caked up. That's what I have left. I haven't weighed it, but there is it was a 400 meter skein, and there's quite a bit left. But it just jumped out at me, and I just bought it, and it went into my stash. And if you followed me for a while, you probably will remember the story of me putting the two together. I wanted to use this, and I'd picked a couple of other contrast colours that weren't working, and then that just jumped out at me, and it's just perfect. So where I'm going with this story is, I know that so many of you out there have got these individual skeins in your stash that you bought, like me, just purely on impulse, and you don't know what to do with them. So get a main colour, which I'm pretty sure you've probably also got in your stash, and have a look at some of Jen's patterns, because they just work really well together. Really, really happy. I'm not going to stand up and show you, because I just find that really awkward. In my last podcast, I did show a full picture of it. I will, if I can, I'll get another photo and put it in at the end. But it fits really well, and I love this detail on the sleeve. So not all of Jen's patterns have the sleeve detail. Some of them are just the colour, the yoke, but it really appealed to me. I love that detail there. It's top down in the round, yoke construction, nothing too fancy. There's short rows in the back, and you just follow the chart. I followed the chart for the colour work, and there's a couple of areas down the bottom where you have to catch your floats. I never like my float being more than probably 4 or 3 stitches. So if it's more than 3 or 4, you know, I have caught my floats on those bottom bits, because some of them there's about a 6 stitch gap. Yep, so that's the Alden by Jen Steingass. That is what I'm wearing. Now I'm going to talk about some whips, but it's really just a recap on my last episode, because I took a couple of them away with me and I didn't work on them. As soon as I got there, I got so tempted. There was just so much inspiration around that the whips I took went into the bottom of my suitcase and I cast on new things. No surprise, no surprises there, right? What I want to say is, I think sometimes we get just stuck in our own little environment, our own little bubble. And what I want to say is, if you ever get the opportunity to go to a yarn show or a wool fest here in New Zealand or anywhere, go, because I was just opened up to so many new things, so many new patterns and yarns. And as you'll see, bright pink. Go figure. Like, here's the person that does neutrals, browns, greys, blues, creams. Like, I'm renowned for doing neutrals. And when people say to me, you really should put more colour into your life, stop wearing black. So I was just inspired by so many new things that are now going to be part of my knitting. And I want to share them with you. So let me just put that down. I want to give a wee shout out. First of all, to Noelle and Kelly. So they're from the podcast Knits and Pieces in Canada. And they're the ones that inspired me to want to go to Knit City. And I also reached out to them and I hung out with them for a few days. And they were just amazing. The hospitality that we received and the friendliness and the hugs, and it was just so beautiful. So thank you to Noelle and Kelly. There was also another couple of ladies that I met, Jenny and Jill, and they were from Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and they'd travelled across the border to also hang out with Noelle and Kelly and to visit Knit City. So I shared a couple of dinners with them. Julia and Lynn, hi Julia, lovely ladies that on one afternoon said, well, what are you doing? Well, we're doing nothing. Well, come to our hotel room and knit with us. So that was really neat, and we shared a dinner with them as well. Rebecca, who shared a lot of knowledge into an area that we were travelling through. These ladies were just so neat to hang out with. So thank you, like really from the bottom of my heart. It was awesome. So that was that. So what I will say is, so Knit City was a Saturday and Sunday event. We arrived on the Thursday to sort of, my friend and I, to allow ourselves to get a bit of jet lag. And then we met up with a lot of these ladies on the Friday. And she said, well, you've got to come to the Knitting Loft. The Knitting Loft is one of the best knitting stores in Toronto. So Noelle organised, I think it took 3 Ubers to get us all there. There was about 10 of us. So we all travelled, it was probably about a 40-minute drive in an Uber to the Knitting Loft. And it's probably one of the biggest yarn stores I've ever been into. It was over 2 levels. amazing. And I'll share with you some of the things that I bought. But what I will say, this was before Knit City even started. And my husband was aware that Knit City started on Saturday. And I spoke to him on Friday night and he said, Lisa, did Knit City start today? And I went, no, it doesn't start till tomorrow. He said, there's some really big purchases off our credit card. And I went, oh yeah. We went to another knit shop and he said, oh, no worries, all good. He said, I actually thought our credit card had been hacked. So I thought that was really funny. I wanted to share that with you. I bought too much. I'd actually blown my budget at the Knitting Loft before Knit City had even started. Yeah, so I will show you what I bought at the Knitting Loft. And I did just want to mention, I'm going to put in a slideshow in a moment, but Knitting Under the Bridge. So Noelle and Kelly, this is something that their knit group started, and they live in Sarnia, which borders the USA. There's a river and a bridge. And they literally, there's a park sort of under the bridge, not right under the bridge, but you can see the bridge. And through summer, autumn, and spring, they just take their picnic chairs, their camp chairs, and they all meet under the bridge and they knit for a couple of hours. It was really good. So we did, my friend and I got invited along, so we went to that. So I'm just going to put in some photos for you of the Knitting Loft, also Knitting Under the Bridge, and also a lot of these people that I met at Knit City. There were some people that it was really it was exciting. I don't know what other word to use. I met people that I actually follow on podcasts. And it was like, well, I've admired you and followed you like for years, and now here you are in person. So that was really neat. Selma from Little Big Knits, I met her at the Knitting Loft, but then at Knit City. Melissa and Lisa, they had a space tricot in, I think, Montreal. They were there. I met them. I met a couple of ladies that follow me, that follow my podcast, that reached out to me, so that was really neat. But I'll stop talking. I am going to put in the slideshow and show you some pictures. I hope you enjoyed those photos. Okay, I'm going to touch on some whips that are a rollover from my previous podcast that I haven't worked on. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them because I talked about them last time, but I just wanted you to know that they are still whips, and now that I'm home and I've got this finished, I'm going to get back onto working on them. So the first one is the Riptide Slipover by GSK Knitwear Designs. So that's it there. This pattern got launched. It's as a round neck, and it has recently been done as a V-neck, which is what I was waiting for. And Jennifer is the designer. She actually just updated the previous pattern, so you didn't have to purchase the V-neck version. If you just go into your Ravelry, there should be an update there. If you've already purchased this, the update for the V-neck will be there. But if you haven't purchased it and you want to, you will get both versions for the round neck and the V-neck. Jump onto Ravelry and have a look. It's got some beautiful detail down the side. It's split hem. I absolutely love it. I love vests because I do wear them over t-shirts, but then also I layer them over long sleeve merinos in the winter. So that's the Riptide slipover. It's a DK pattern, and once again, this is yarn from Kiwi Yarna, which is a local dyer that was dyed a few years ago as a custom dye, so I know you can't buy it anymore. But any DK weight yarn would do this pattern. I only got that far and I stopped. So this is the back, and I stopped because I knew that it was the same. The back was done the same for the round neck and the V-neck version. And then when I knew the V-neck version was coming out, I stopped and I thought, right, I'm going to wait. And now I'm going to continue to work on it. And do the V-neck version, if that makes sense. But that's the lace pattern that's showing up there. It's a really beautiful pattern. It's one that you can easily remember, not too complicated at all, and I'm really enjoying it. So DK weight yarn, I'm not sure how many meters you need, but that'll be on the pattern on Ravelry. If you are tempted to do this, it would work really well in my Knit by Numbers, which is a DK weight yarn, which is 50% merino, 50% blue face Leicester. So, and it's about 40 odd colours. So if you're tempted to do the Riptide, that's my yarn recommendation, and I will keep working on that. My other whip that I had before going away was my take 2 of the Blueberry Vodka Lemonade by Thea Colman. I knitted this and it just didn't work out. It was way too big for me. So I have given that to a new home. I gifted it to a friend and it looks great on her. And she actually wore it a lot in Canada. So it was really good to see it being worn. But I loved the pattern. I loved the style, the simplicity. I really wanted one in my wardrobe. So I wasn't deterred by the fact that I got the first one wrong. I went back to the drawing board, redid my measurements, re-swatched, and this is take 2. Now I took this with me just before I left. I got to the point where I had divided for the sleeves, so all I'm doing now is knitting in the round stockinette stitch. So I thought it was the perfect project to take with me on the plane, and I did, and I didn't get a whole lot done because it was a night flight. But I did get a little bit done. I needed the needles for something else, so I've got the little end stoppers on there. But this really shouldn't take a long time to finish now, because I'm really just at the bottom stage. It's got this beautiful detail down both seams. I'm not sure how well that's showing up. There, you can see it there in the light. It's got detail that runs down both the sides. It's also got this lovely detail at the raglan. So you've got these, you make these eyelets with each raglan increase. So everything about this I love. I have tried it on and I've got it right the second time. But that will get a bit more of my attention. I showed this on my last podcast and I sold out of the yarn that I'm using, which was called Rocky Road. But the other colour that I would recommend in the same yarn is Agapanthus or Black Beach. I'll leave the links below for those yarns. So if you're tempted by this pattern and just want a nice merino to do it in, I will leave the links below for the yarn that I recommend. But that is my second whip that needs my attention. Okay, and my third whip has had no attention at all. And it's the First Frost by Elizabeth from Amikihia Knits. That's it there. Now this is a cardigan. I'm doing it in the Yarnadelic, which is a sports weight. It works really well in a sports weight. She has recommended this. It can be done in any gauge, like I think from a 4 ply through to about an 8 or 10 ply. So I think the gauge is quite flexible. You just need to swatch and have a look. But I want to show you the back. So you'll see there's this lace panel that runs down the front. There's a lace work that runs right around the bottom bands, but there's also this lace panel that runs right down the back. It's just stunning, isn't it? It's enough lace work to be really interesting and feminine without being too overcomplicated. That's my spin on it. I'm using Yarnadelic, which is a sports weight yarn, and this is from the John Arbon Textiles range, and it's 100% Falklands Corriedale. This colour is called We Love You, and it's a really nice green. It was a limited edition about 3 years ago. I still have some left, and I love it, so I wanted to use it. Now, what I've done is, and I haven't done any since I've left. I've done the back panel. So I'm just at the point now where I pick up and work one side and then the other side before I join it and work it the rest of the body. So this here is the back, and it's the lace panel that runs down the center of the back. I'm not sure if you're going to see it too well. Not really. It's hard to show. But anyway, it's take my word for it. It's beautiful. And I really want to finish it. I don't have anything green in my wardrobe. But this green is really unique. It's just got a bit of teal in it and a bit of maybe rust. I'm not sure if it's going to show up. Not really. The light's not good here today. So that's my third whip. Those 3 projects are going to get some attention. Probably Blueberry Vodka first, and then First Frost, and then I might work on my vest. So they are my three whips. Now I want to talk to you about my FO. Which, is it an FO? Yes, it is. It should have been an FO. I probably have about a centimetre, only a centimetre more than I want to do on the rib. I want a deep rib, a deep band, so it just sits nicely on my waist above my jeans. The pattern only calls for about a 2 centimetre rib. I'm probably going to do a 4 or 5 centimetre. So I hope to have, I wanted to have it finished yesterday, and it didn't work out. And then I thought I could have got it finished last night, but I wasn't going to get it wet blocked. So I'm going to call it an FO. It's almost an FO. So I am going to get the pattern and my notes, and I'm going to tell you about this beauty. Okay, so let's get into some of the exciting stuff, some of the new stuff. So I'll refer back to Noelle and Kelly from Knits and Pieces. If you followed them, you will know that Noelle wears a lot of pinks and bright colours, and Kelly wears a lot more of the colours that I normally wear, like earthy sort of tones and neutrals. But I was really inspired by Noelle, and she just rocked the pink. Like it was just gorgeous. And I went into Knit City actually thinking, I need colour. I just really want to step out of my comfort zone. I was so inspired by these people that I met. But one pattern that I saw quite a bit was the Tolsta Tee by Caidree. And the funny thing is that I did hear through social media that while I was in Canada, she was actually here in New Zealand, visiting New Zealand. But if you haven't heard of this pattern, it's called the Tolsta Tee, and it's by Craybay Knits. I will leave the link below. And she did this in a DK weight, but then she also did a fingering weight 4-ply as well. So when you purchase this pattern, you get both the DK weight and the fingering weight, and you also get a page of modifications of what other people have done. So this pattern is a basic raglan pattern, and I love a raglan, and I would highly recommend this as a pattern. If you haven't done a top down in the round raglan yet, this would be the perfect introduction to doing one. It is really well written, it is really well constructed, and the flexibility from fingering weight through to DK, you can do it as a short sleeve or a long sleeved, you can do it cropped or a longer body, you can do it quite boxy and oversized. Mine's sort of quite fitted, it's not too boxy, there's not a lot of positive ease in it, but I'm really happy with it. I did try it on as I went. So I purchased the pattern, and I chose the fingering weight version. You can see it here blocked, and I know that once the short sleeve there, I know that once I get this off the mannequin and wet block it, that it will just block out beautifully. It's I'm really impressed by the pattern. I know it's been out for a while, and I know that her patterns are really popular. I don't know why I haven't done one yet, but this won't be my first one. This won't be my last one, is what I'm going to say. I think I will definitely do this again, and I'm already quite inspired to do one with stripes, probably in this colouring. When I was at Wool Feast on the weekend, I did recommend this pattern a lot with my knit by numbers for the DK version. So I am going to do probably either a black with white stripes, or what she's done there, a white with the black stripes in my knit by numbers for my DK version. So the yarn, I got this at Knit City. It's called Opus. I don't know anything more about it than she's from Canada. I don't know whereabouts in Canada, but this yarn is 70% Argentinian merino and 30% baby alpaca, so it's really soft. I bought 3 skeins, and I've just broke into the second skein. If I didn't do the longer rib, I would have got this out of only 2 skeins. One skein is 350 meters per 100 grams. So this sits at about a sports weight, I would say. So you could do this definitely in Yarnadelic if you wanted the 4-ply sort of sports weight version. The colour I've chosen is taffy, but I don't know, I was so out of my comfort zone when I picked up that colour, but I thought, no, that's what I want. So I purchased the yarn. When I got back to Noelle's house in Sarnia, I think the first thing I said when I walked in the door is, do you have a ball winder? Can I borrow your ball winder and Swift? And a lady of my own heart, she said, yep, there it is, it's set up permanently in that room. So I think on the first day, within hours of arriving, I was winding my yarn into cakes, and I cast this on. I had a couple of false starts. I did the band that was cast on, did the band, that was fine. And when I was doing my short rows, I did make a mistake, but that was purely because I wasn't concentrating. I was just talking and doing other things when I should have been concentrating on my short rows. So I did pull it back twice. I hadn't got very far. I realised my mistake. So, but that was no fault of the pattern. That was just me not concentrating. And I just love it. I just can't wait to wear it. We are in the middle of winter here, so I will probably layer it and wear it over a long sleeve t-shirt. But I should tell you about it. I will confess I didn't even swatch. I just cast it on. I was just so impulsive. I looked at the measurements and thought, yep, I'll do a size 4. And I actually followed the pattern exactly. The only modification I've made is probably the length of the bottom band. But there is one thing that I did different to the pattern. And I have done this before. I think I talked about it in my last podcast. Because I'm not sure if I did it on this jersey. I've done it recently. But anyway, there's a cast off called Alternating Cable Bind Off. And it's by Cheryl Toy. And I will leave the link below for the YouTube tutorial for this particular bind off. And so most alternating cable bind offs that I've seen, you have to measure out your yarn and you do it with a darning needle. And I don't like it. I find it just time consuming and awkward. But with this one here, it's done knitting. So you knit the bind off, you don't sew the bind off, but the result is very much like the sewn bind off, and it sort of goes around. You can't see it. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take it off the mannequin and give you a closer look, because it's a bind off that I really encourage you to have a look at and to try. So I'm just going to take it off the mannequin. Also, the sun's come out, so the lighting in this room has changed. I know the sun's not going to be out for long though, because there's a great big black cloud out there. But let me adjust the lighting and show you this bind off. I kind of feel like there's a real shadow and I don't know how to correct it. I've opened the blind behind me, but anyway, it's just the weather. I can't control that one. Maybe I need better lighting in this room. Over winter, I might need to look at going into another room. Anyway, back to this bind off. So it's called the Alternating Cable Bind Off. It's a knitted bind off. You do have to use, she recommends a DPN in your right hand, in your working hand, because you pull the yarn backwards and forwards. It's a very clear tutorial on YouTube, but what I want to show you on this bind off, see how it's rounded? It kind of rolls over. So instead of the rib, quite often a rib bind off flares out a little bit, it's just got this beautiful rounded edge to it. I'm just obsessed with it, and it's a bind off that I will use over and over again for sure. This is just so soft, and the color, I don't know why I've not worn pink before, but I just can't wait to wear this. I even bought a matching lipstick to go with it. So anyway, that's my Tolsta Tee by Crayobay Knits. That is the 4-ply version, and it's a really good pattern. I would recommend you buy this pattern if you're wanting if you're wanting just a really good basic raglan. She has done something a little bit different here, and I wasn't sure why, but I can see why now. So when you're doing your raglan increases down here, you're doing them every second row, but then you get to a point where it sort of goes under the arm and it changes, and you do them every row, and you can see it there, the difference. And I sort of wondered when I was doing it, wonder why she did that. But I think it's perfect. It just sort of rolls around under the arm. I don't know. I just encourage you to do it. It's a really nice pattern. So that is what I worked on quite a lot in the last 4 weeks. It is finished. I just need to pop that down. I just need to do the bind off and wet block it, and I'm pretty sure I'll probably wear that for you on my next podcast. Okay, so now I'm going to go into new patterns that I come across. So when I was at both the Knitting Loft and Knit City, I looked at samples, and every bit of yarn that I bought, that I purchased it with a purpose, to the point that I bagged up that yarn and I scribbled on a notepad what pattern that yarn was intended for. So I did do a lot of shopping, but I felt like I did really, I was really mindful of how I shopped, and I'm really pretty impressed. I'm really happy with what I've brought home. So the first one, so I purchased this yarn at the Knitting Loft, and the day we went to the Knitting Loft, Noelle was actually wearing it. So like I said, I did take a lot of my inspiration from people that I was around, but also from shop samples. Now this is called the Rocket Tee, and it's by Tanis Fibre Arts. Anyway, I'll show it to you. That's the pattern there. Once again, I think this is quite a versatile pattern. She's done those stripes in, I'm pretty sure, finger in weight and a silk mohair. But Noelle was wearing it, and I said, well, what yarn have you used? And this is the yarn that she used to do hers in. It's completely different yarn, but she did get gauge. So that's what I will work on. I will work on getting the 24 stitch gauge. This is actually, where's my notes? It's DK. Yeah, it is a DK yarn. And a lot of what I bought, I also bought because it's yarn that I can't get here. It was new to me. This yarn, it's under the brand of the Knitting Loft. That's my notes. It's 50% merino and 50% hemp. So 50% plant fibre, 50% animal fibre. And it's seriously soft. I always sort of think that plant fibres like linen and cotton aren't as soft as merino, but this is like seriously soft. And once again, look at the color. It's like it's a pink, or maybe like a really dark salmon, but that is my main color, and I'm going to do small stripes in the white. It's not going to be striped like this. Her stripes are very even. I'm going to have pink and then just like 2 stripes of white, and then pink and 2 stripes of white. So that's definitely my main color, and that's just going to be a small bit of striping as a contrast color. 24 stitch gauge. The other thing I liked about it, it has got some eyelets and the raglan increasing, but it's also all bound off with I-cord. So it's an I-cord bind off. It's a V-neck. It's top down. You start working flat, and then you do the front, left, right, and then join in the rounds, alternating between. Yeah, there's not much else I can say about it because I haven't started it. She does say read through the whole pattern so you know what you're doing, basically. But anyway, it's the Rocket Tee. It's probably quite similar. The other t-shirt I did that was a V-neck that had all the I-cord edge in was a Petite Knits V-neck, basic V-neck or something, I think it was called. So, but anyway, I bought this yarn with the purpose of knitting that pattern. So that was one of my first purchases that I look forward to doing. Now, I'm kind of a bit all over the place. The next purchase, this one was actually from the Knit City itself. I'm working through a list actually, so that's what I'm doing here. So they had this knitted up as a sample. So bear with me. And it's called the Suri shirt. Now, you're probably thinking, I've heard you talk about that before, Lisa. Well, you're right, because I've actually talked about the Suri V-neck. This has been on my radar for probably about 12 months and I haven't knitted it. So when she kept saying it's the Suri shirt, this sample, I thought, gee, I know that pattern. Why is it familiar to me? This is actually, it's the same designer. I think it's very similar to the V-neck, but it's actually a round neck. And the band on the sleeves is a bit different, but that's it there. So the pattern, let me see what I've written here. The pattern calls for a 26 stitch gauge. Now the sample has been knitted up. This is lace weight, like 2-ply. This is 2-ply lace weight. And it was very light and airy and drapey. And it's very different to what the pattern actually calls for. But the sample looked amazing. So I bought the yarn and I'm going to knit this pattern like that sample. And it is going to look quite different because it's going to be really lacy and drapey. This yarn has got 800 meters per 100 grams. So we're talking serious lace weight. I don't think I've knitted anything that fine before, which was another thing that appealed to me. It was different to anything I've done before. And the actual yarn is 55% BFL, Blueface Leicester, and 45% silk. So once again, it's a blend. I'm not sure if you can get it here in New Zealand, but it's a blend that I haven't used before, and it's a weight that I've never used before, and the sample looked amazing. So I bought the yarn with this purpose of doing this Suri shirt, and I'm looking forward to it. So that was my second purchase. This one was exciting. And what actually happened, I ran into, because we all sort of went off on our own through Knit City. We all just went off and did our own thing because you couldn't really, there were so many people on the first day. But anyway, on the second day, I ran into Callie there, and she actually said to me, I think I might have said, what have you bought? And she said, have you seen the pattern at Saunders Yarn Co? It's called Ribwave. She said it's amazing, and she'd bought the yarn for it. So I went back to that stand. I'll show you the yarn first. So Saunders Yarn Co. This came from, I used to follow a podcast, a Space Tricot, which is a yarn store in Montreal, and it was Melissa and Lisa, and they sold the store, and Melissa went off and she created her own brand of yarn. So I'd heard about this, I knew about it, and I went and had a look, and the yarn is just beautiful. It's so soft. So it's from her range called the Sunday Morning Luxe Sport. So it's a sports weight. It's 65% Blueface Leicester, 25% Masham, which is a breed of sheep, and 10% Cashmere. So this, I can see why she's called it Luxe. This is Luxe. This is like seriously soft. And once again, I bought a colour that was out of my comfort zone. I held it up against me, and Melissa assured me that this was a really good colour for me. So I took her word for it. I bought 4 skeins. The sample that was knitted up is, it's called the Ribwave, R-I-B, and it's by Joanna Ang, and it looked stunning. I'm going to show you. So this pattern has a lot of detail. I am really not liking the light in here today, but it's got all the detail down the V-neck, but it's got this beautiful detail up the sleeve that goes all the way up the sleeve. I'm just going to see if there's another picture. Because I have to say, the pattern looks good. I thought there was another picture. So you can see here, can I get close enough? So there's detail going down the sides of the back, as well as the sleeve, as well as the front V-neck. It's just full of detail. It's just stunning. And I knew when I saw the sample knitted up that I wanted it. And so I took down the name of the pattern, purchased it off Ravelry, and got this yarn to do it. I really look forward to casting this one on. I actually think I'm going to cast this one on before I do the others, because it's just so stunning. But jump on to Ravelry and have a look at the other projects, and you'll see why I'm just so in love with it. That's it there. I'll leave the Ravelry link for you to have a look at. I'm not sure how this is going to rate on the scheme of difficultness, I wanted to say. I don't think that's a word. I'm not sure. That there's cable, there's ribbing, but I'm sure if you follow the chart, it's all doable. But yeah. So that's the Ribwave by Joanna Ang. I have heard of Joanna Ang, and I might have one or two of her patterns in my library, but I have not ever knitted anything from that particular designer. So I do look forward to that, and it is it's why I bought it. I'm about halfway through my purchases. What I will say though, I'm actually not covering all my purchases in this one episode because it will just go on forever. So I've decided to hold some of the smaller ones aside for my next podcast. The ones I'm talking to you about today are from the Knitting Loft in Toronto and from Knit City itself in Toronto. So I am just going to get my next project. Okay, so that was Knit City Toronto. We're going to go back now to the Knitting Loft. So this is all before Knit City even started. So we rocked up at the Knitting Loft, and I was just starstruck. I don't know how else to describe it. Like literally a kid in a candy store. I couldn't get enough of it. It was amazing. But once again, I saw a sample on a mannequin and I loved it. And the sample that I saw, I'm going to show, once again, I'm really not happy with the light here today, but it's literally just a very drapey little singlet. Here's another photo in black and white that might show up better. It's called the Positano, I think it's Italian. Erika Knight is the designer, or that's the yarn collection. Anyway, that's the pattern there. That's it over a white shirt. So it can be worn as a layering piece, or it can be worn literally just as a summer singlet. I would wear this under a linen shirt, probably not over a shirt, but under a shirt, and sort of have the shirt open. The sample was knitted up in this yarn, and once again, it's yarn that I've never seen. It's yarn that I don't believe I can buy here. I'm sure as soon as I talk about it, someone will say, yes, you can. But anyway, I didn't think I could buy it here. And it's an Italian yarn, Rossi. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but that's the band label there. And I had to have translated what that was. But anyway, it translates into 100% organic linen. But I'm going to show you, I've heard of this, and I'm hoping it's going to show up on the camera. It's what they call chain blown. So it's actually, it's hollow. It's somehow they've blown air into it. Is it going to show up? I'm not sure how well that is showing up, but I don't know a lot about how they do this or what it is, but I've heard the term chain blown, and that's what it is. It's 100% linen. Anyway, I got it back to my hotel room late Friday, and I cast on, I wanted to do my swatch. When I was knitting with it, it felt really ropey. It felt quite coarse, and I thought, I don't know what this is going to be like. So I soaked it in a jug of water in my hotel room. I got the ice bucket, I filled it up with hot water, soaked my swatch, and I actually had some Eucalan wool wash. So I've got the little one, Eucalan, and I take that with me when I travel, and I use it just to wash out small things in my hotel room if I need to. It's really good. So I did actually have Eucalan with me. I soaked it, and it still felt a little bit rough. I wasn't sure about it. So what I did is I spent the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, with this little swatch down my bra. So I thought that's the best way to tell what this yarn's going to do with the heat of my body, and it's going to, you know, like, how's it going to sort of perform. So I wore this little swatch in my bra for 2 days, and it's beautiful. It's is that even showing up? It's very drapey. It's a light gauge. Oh, you can see that's better there. And it's different. It's different to anything I've ever knitted with, and I just think it's going to be beautiful. I love linen, so I don't know. Watch this space. I think it's going to be. I think I'll be able to knit that up quite quickly because it's a loose gauge. There's no sleeves. It's just a very loose, drapey little singlet. So that was another purchase. And the thing with this purchase, I actually thought I was all done. That's it. I finished shopping. They had this seating area, and we were all just sitting around, and I saw a mannequin with that top, and it was like, oh, here I go again. So I hadn't finished knitting. Oh, sorry, I hadn't finished shopping. So that's the Positano. I'm sure I'm saying it not correctly because I really don't do accents well at all. So, and I'll probably cast that on before my next podcast because I've already done the swatch. And we've got some really cold weather coming our way, so it might be time to just hunker down in front of the fire and get some serious knitting done. I haven't done a lot of knitting at all since I've been home, but that's what happens. Now, this next one, once again, this is a knitting loft. I will tell you just something quickly. So while we were in Canada, unfortunately, I got COVID. So did my friend. So that it was after Knit City, and we were on the go and we were traveling, and I spent a couple of days where I just wanted to roll up and go to sleep. I didn't have a cough, I didn't have a sore throat, I had headaches and I had fatigue, but we had to keep moving, and I just said, I'm getting on the back seat of the car, I'm going to sleep. And 2 days were a bit of a blur. I sort of got up and we did the sightseeing thing, and I'd eat, and then I'd get back in the car and jump on the back seat and curl up and go to sleep. But what I want to tell you, because I thought it was quite funny, so the Knitting Loft gave us these black tote bags when we were shopping, and I had a couple of these full, and they were in the back of the car, and they were really full, and I tied that up in a knot, and that was my pillow. I thought I knew those bags of wool would come in handy for something else, and I made a pillow out of my tote bag that was full of wool, and that's, I spent 2 days on the back seat of the car sleeping. Not really 2 days, but you know what I mean when you just have those headaches and that fatigue. And I don't know, 30 hours flying, like not flying, but basically we were in transit for 30 hours from the time I left Christchurch, from the time I got to Christchurch airport, transited through Auckland, flew to LA, 4-hour layover in LA turned into an 8-hour layover, then LA to Toronto, 30 hours. It wasn't pretty. And, you know, I just know that's where we got it. But anyway, no use dwelling on that. So this next project, once again, Noelle was wearing this and I just said, what's that yarn? And she said, well, it's actually 3 yarns stranded together. And the pattern, I've shown you this pattern before because I had this pattern here at home and I've wanted to do it, but it's the Felix cardigan. So that's it there. Oh God, I'm not happy with this light. So the Felix cardigan, I'm going to say jump on a Ravelry and have a look because you'll get a better look at it. It's a 14 stitch gauge, so it's a really, it's a chunky, it's done with an Aran weight or 10 ply. It's top down, and where you do your raglan increases, once again, it's got this beautiful eyelet feature that I really wanted to show you. Let's see if I can get another picture. No, that's the best one. I'll try again. You can see it a little bit there, but over the shoulder here, down here, there's beautiful eyelets. It's really quite stunning. It's quite a boxy cardigan. It's, like I said, it's done at a 14 stitch gauge, which is a 6mm or a 10 US size needle. Very rarely have I knitted anything with a 6mm needle, so we're talking pretty chunky here. Now, what Noelle used, and I'm copying Noelle because hers just looks stunning. So she stranded together these 3 yarns. Now this one is, it's from the Knitting Loft, and it's just 100% Highland superwash wool. It's just 100% wool, and it's in this beautiful colour. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a neutral peachy colour with flashes of sort of pink and grey. So there's that. But then they also had the matching silk mohair. So there's that. So they're the 2. And then, this is the exciting bit. The third thing she stranded it with was this sequence. I want to show you it that way. So I've wanted this for a few years. I've seen other podcasts, America and Canadian, the Grocery Girls podcast, they've talked about this quite a lot, but it's a really fine strand. It's acrylic. It's a really fine strand, and you can get it with all different color sequences and sparkles. And what Noelle had done is she double stranded all 3 of these. Let's have a look at this. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Isn't it gorgeous? This isn't going to be a cheap cardigan. It was all quite expensive, but I think it's just going to be stunning. And I've never done anything like it. It was the whole purpose of my trip, right? Was to get things and bring things home that I can't get at home and be inspired, and that's exactly what happened with this. This is something so different. So I have got enough yarn there to do the Felix cardigan, and I've got to say that Noelle's one just looked gorgeous. It was just cropped. It was just beautiful. So that's my Felix cardigan. If you're tempted by sort of a boxy cardigan in a 10 ply or Aran weight yarn, 14 stitch gauge, not 14 ply, have a look at the Felix cardigan. I think it's a popular pattern. It's been around for a while. It has been in my library for a while, but I just that was that. That's the Felix cardigan. Now I've got one more lot of yarn to show you with a project, and this actually this came from Hamilton, so it wasn't in Toronto. So we left Toronto, we went to Sarnia, then my husband flew in, got the car, and then we left Sarnia and we went to a place called Hamilton. And if you follow me, you'll know that my husband does ultra trail running, and he does 100-mile distances. And it was like, well, if you're going to a knitting show, I'm going to find a run to do. So we kind of combined both our passions, and he found a run to do at a place called Sulphur Springs in Hamilton, and I dropped him there. And it was really unfortunate because I've always been there to crew for Mark when he does these runs. I dropped him there we went to the start line and had a look on the Friday, dropped him there on the Saturday, and by Saturday afternoon, I knew that I was getting COVID. I was still testing negative, but I was getting headaches and I just had all the signs. By late that night, I had COVID. I tested positive. But anyway, after we dropped him, we hung around that area for a little while he went off and started his run, and we found a yarn store just outside of Hamilton, and it was a beautiful big yarn store. I haven't got the name of it. I will get it. But we did spend a while in there. It was a big yarn store with a lot of little rooms. It had rooms. It was almost like a converted house. And it was like, well, all the sock yarns in that room, all the DKs in that room, all the fingering weights in that room. It was really, really neat. And once again, she had samples knitted up. And I saw this. Now, this is the Weekend Delight by Andrea Mowry, Dre Renee Knits. Now, I have the Weekender, but I never had the Weekend Delight. So I did have to purchase this pattern. So I've got both of them now. But this was knitted up as a sample, and I loved the look and the feel of the sample, and I decided that I needed to have that in my wardrobe. This is once again just an Andrea Mowry, really good basic wardrobe staple. Sweatshirty looking, casual, you dress it up, dress it down. But anyway, it's the Weekend Delight. And she had it knitted up in this colour. And I wanted the exact colour. I wanted exactly the same as what was on this mannequin. Now this yarn's, I'm going to try really hard to pronounce it correctly. Boucher Bush. Boucher Bush. Boucher Bush. My friend speaks a couple of different languages, and when I told her about it, she said, no, Lisa, that's not how you say it. It's Boucher Bush. So I hope I've got that right. And it's cashmere and lamb's wool. There's the label there. What's the 12.5% cashmere and 87.5% lamb's wool. So nearly 90-10. But it's really light. I'm gonna go as far as saying that it's is it woolen spun, where it's kind of light. It feels really light and lofty, and the sample was really light, like seriously light, and really soft. So the color's called Very Light Pink, which is exactly what it is. It's like cream with bits of pink almost. That light's terrible. But I bought enough of this yarn to do the Weekend Delight by Dre Renee Knits. So I think her original one was a DK, and this one's a 4-ply. And she's just stunning, isn't she? Like, everything she puts on looks gorgeous on her. Anyway, so that was my purchase from a yarn store in Hamilton. And it was at that point that I kind of stopped shopping for about a week because I had COVID. Yeah. So I'm going to pause now and I'm going to regroup and get the rest of my stuff. I have got some show and tell. I've got some souvenirs, and I forgot. I've actually got the prize winners for my 3,000 plus subscribers. And I have a shop update. I'm getting new product. I need to share that with you. So I've got one more pattern to show you. That has just popped up on my radar since I got home. So this is not a Canada one. This is one that I found since I've been home. Yeah, and then I've got some souvenirs that I want to show you. Okay, I thought I'd just give you a quick rundown on my trip and where we went, and then I'm going to insert a wee little slideshow of some of the places that we went. So we started off at Toronto, and then we were in Sarnia for 4 nights. Then from there, my husband joined us, and we went to a place called Hamilton, and we were there for 5 nights, and that's where my husband did his run. And then we left there and we went to a place called Smith's Falls for 3 nights. And a bit of that's a bit of a blur. Oh, before leaving Hamilton, we went to Niagara Falls. So you'll see a photo of that. That was like breathtaking. And you'll see a photo. It almost looks like it's photoshopped. It actually doesn't even look real. And I'm standing up at the top, like at a viewing area. And the boat that we did end up going on, it just looks like this tiny little dot in an ocean. It was bigger than, it was just, if you ever get the opportunity, you've got to go to Niagara Falls. Anyway, 3 nights in Smith's Falls. Then we left there and we went to Quebec City. And Quebec City is where it's all French. And you, with the architecture and the buildings, you have to actually stop and remind yourself that you're actually still in Canada. Because it does look very French, and French is their first language, which I just, you know, it's a Commonwealth country and everyone speaks English, and then you go to this one region and it's just French. It was just amazing. And French bakeries, beautiful. So we did 3 nights in Quebec City, and then we left there and we went to Ottawa. So we made a point of not going to the big cities. Like, I didn't want to go to Montreal. We didn't hang around in Toronto after Knit City. We wanted to go to smaller places. But I did want to go to Ottawa. So that's their capital of Canada. And that was beautiful. It was just, once again, the architecture, and that was just beautiful. We left there and we went to a place called Bracebridge. And the reason we chose Bracebridge, because from Ottawa to Bracebridge, it took us through a national park called Algonquin. I hope I'm saying that right. And about 60 kilometres of the drive was within a national park. We didn't see bear or moose. They live there. They are there. It wouldn't have been awesome to see one, but we didn't. So we drove through that national park, which was just beautiful. And at Bracebridge I went to a yarn store called Muskoka Yarn Connection, and there's a photo of me there, and there's also a photo, I think I inserted the photo. We went to a brewing company. My husband likes craft beer. We're not big drinkers, but if we go somewhere, we always like to go to a craft brewery. And then from there we made our way back to Toronto and we flew home. So it was just amazing. What I will say about Canada is I actually feel like it's like New Zealand on steroids. It's clean, it's green, it's just beautiful, and the scenery is beautiful, and the rivers and the falls. And I said to a friend, I've been lucky enough to travel quite a bit, and I always rate a country by whether I can drink water out of the tap or not, because most countries you can't, and Canada you can. There is so much water there, and the water is it's pure, you know. It's just like New Zealand. It is so beautiful. We are planning another trip to go to the Vancouver side. I don't know when, but yeah, anyway, that's a just a quick overview on my Canada trip and the cities that we went to, and I will insert a quick slideshow of some of those photos. I got home and then I had to get my head around the fact that in less than a week I had to, that I was going to Wool Feast in Christchurch, and it's where I take all of my yarn that I can, and I'm there as a trader, and I love it. It's a highlight that only happens once a year, and I get to meet people, and it was really good. But I sort of thought, okay, I have to, I hadn't planned. I kind of went away thinking, do you know, it can just wait until I get home and then I'll deal with it. So I jumped onto Ravelry, and I wanted to take a couple of patterns that would work with some of the yarns that I had. So I could say to people, well, this is a yarn and here's some yarn, some pattern recommendations. And I hadn't spent a lot of time on Ravelry in the last 3 weeks prior to getting home. And I jumped onto Ravelry, and yay, there she is. Andrea Mowry has released a new pattern. So I've photocopied just the front page. I wanted to show it to you. It's called Nebula, and it's done in a DK. And it's a real classic Andrea, just casual, relaxed sweatshirt. It's done from the bottom up. It's got the 3 needle bind off on the shoulders, which she often does. It's got some detail. It's drop shoulder. It's got some detail there. I did write some notes, so let me go by the notes. It's bottom up. You can do this in short or long sleeve. She's got photographs of both. It's got shoulder detail. It's a crew neck, short rows to create a curved hem. And you can see here how it's quite curved, and the back I think is a bit longer. So you do short rows to create the curved hem. It's in the round until you divide for the sleeves. Then it's done in the flat. 3 needle bind off for the shoulders, and then you pick up your stitches and do your sleeves. And like I said, long sleeve or short sleeved. It is DK. She's used a yarn from My Farmer's Daughter, I think. She has actually written that you may need to play around to get gauge. So it has been done in a DK, but I think it's the sort of thing that it's going to be oversized and boxy anyway. So as long as you, I don't know, somehow get gauge. But I like it and I want to do it, and it would be perfect in my Knit by Numbers DK. And I actually, here I am saying, I'm going to put more colour in my life. but I'd really like it in this. It's number 3. Knitwear numbers don't have, the colours don't have names, they just have numbers. And this is number 3, and it's a charcoal. It's not black, but it's not grey either, so I'd say charcoal. And I just think, because this is like super relaxed, sweatshirty looking, so I would really like to do it in that colour. Yep, so that's a new pattern, and I'm just gonna a bit of show and tell now with some new product, but I know that someone's at my front door. One moment. Sorry about that. Yeah, so a little bit of show and tell, a few things that I got, a couple of things I got given as gifts, and also a bit of souvenir shopping, and some product that I found that I'm going to bring into New Zealand to sell here in my shop. But Noelle and Kelly gave my friend and I a gift, which was so lovely. But I got this sock yarn. It's just stunning. So it's sock yarn with the contrast for the heel and toes, and it's from the Cozy Knitter, and the colour's called Northern Lights. And I really want more socks. I don't do nowhere near the amount of sock knitting that I would like to do. I don't think I've knitted a pair of socks in a year. So that was very much appreciated. And this got a lot of use while I was away, I must say. But I got this beautiful bag. I know they have them made for their podcast, but it's this beautiful big tote bag, and it's been embroidered with knits and pieces, and it's got sheep on it, and it's so cute that it's got a big pocket in at the front, and it's got a zip pocket. It's just big. It's just the perfect big project bag, especially if you're going away for the weekend or something and you want lots of projects. But I just love that, and it did get a lot of use while I was away. It will continue to get more use as well. So thank you, Noelle and Kelly, for those beautiful gifts. Our very last stop was at Muskota, and I just couldn't buy any more yarn. It was just, the suitcase was full, and I knew that I had bought enough yarn. But I did want to buy something because it was just such a beautiful shop, and I saw this and absolutely fell in love with it. So when I knit, I use an app on my iPad called Knit Companion. So my iPad comes everywhere with me, and I come across this beautiful case. It's a zipper case, and it's big enough to hold an iPad or a tablet. But this has been hand painted, and yeah, it's a local person in Muskoka. It's a project bag that's been designed by local mixed media artist Jennifer Clow. It's part of her exclusive 30th anniversary collection made in Canada. So I just loved it. I love the colours. It's an owl. I'm sure you can see that. It's an owl sitting in a tree. It's just beautiful. They had lots of different patterns, and they all had a bird or an animal on them, and I just really loved that owl. So that was one of the last things that I bought. Was the last thing? Oh no. So then we headed to Toronto to go to the airport, and my husband said to me, you realise that shop you went to, the Knitting Loft, is only 10 minutes from the airport. So you didn't have to tell me that. The reason why he told me is because in Hamilton, which was one of our first stops, I found these stitch markers that I loved, and I didn't buy them. And the reason I didn't buy them, because I thought, I've got so many other yarn stores that we're going to visit. I'm sure, I'll come across them again. Well, do you know, all the yarn stores I visited, and I never come across them again. But I knew they had them at the Knitting Loft. So before going to the airport, we had a couple of hours up our sleeve, so we called back into the Knitting Loft. And this brand's called All Stitch Studio. And I loved these so much that I've actually reached out to the company and placed an order, and I'm going to bring them into New Zealand. So this here's the big box, but they come in smaller packs as well. But look, they're just stitch markers, okay? So we're not reinventing the wheel or anything here. They are just stitch markers, but I just loved them. I'll see if I can show them. So they are metal, so they will hold on a magnet. The reason I say that is because I have a tape measure and one side of it's magnetic, and when I use Cocoa Knits stitch markers, it's really handy because they're metal and they stick on the magnet. So these will stick on a magnet, but they're just so pretty. So I pulled back in and I bought the box set. But like I said, I have reached out and I have placed an order. So that is something that's going to be in my shop. Also at Knit City Toronto, I knew these people were going to be there and they were on my radar. But it's, so maple and thread. Sorry, I've been talking too much. Thread and maple. They do a range... Thread and maple. It's a mother and daughter from Canada, and this range comes out of Ukraine, and everything is handmade, and it's a leather range. And you can jump onto my website and have a look, although the stock's not there yet. It hasn't arrived, but I have put it on there, and the pricing may vary, may go up or down a little bit because I actually don't know what the freight and that is going to be yet. But they do a big leather binder that holds pages, that holds all your chalgo and all your cables and all your notions, and it's just beautiful. There's two different colour leathers. There's one called chocolate, one called whiskey. So one's natural brown and one's a dark brown. I bought this, I wanted to buy the whole folder, and the reason I didn't is because I knew that I was going to come home and reach out to be a New Zealand distributor for it, or a New Zealand supplier, and it was too heavy. I was conscious at this stage of the weight of my luggage, and leather weighs a lot. But I did just buy this little, this one's called the project page. And I'll just show you to give you an idea. So that's what the page looks like. And these two rings here hold it in the binder. So this is actually a page within the binder. And so when you start a project, say, okay, I'm going to cast on this new project. I'll put my tips that I need for it, the cables that I need for it, any notions, tape measure, scissors, whatever I need to do that one project fits in this little project page. So then I can take it out of the binder, and then these two clips close. So then that can come with me. I can take that anywhere with me. And then when I finish the project, I can go back into the binder. So that was a lot of talking. I won't go on any more about it, but I just wanted you to know that I am getting it, and then it is quite a extensive range. So when I do get it, it's a bit like chalgo. I will talk more about it so you've got an understanding. It's not cheap. It's a pretty big investment. It's a luxury item, but I just wanted to share it with you. So yeah, it's thread and maple. It's a Canadian company, and everything is made in the Ukraine. So that's that. And my stitch markers. The other thing I'm getting new is I went away wanting yarn, and I bought yarn, and I've got yarn that I haven't showed you today. I'll show you in my next podcast, with linen and cotton. I wanted some different blends, and I found some. But then I reached out to a company and said I want to bring it into New Zealand, and this particular company actually has a distributor in Australia, so I can get it quite easily. But it's BC Garn. It's BC Garn, and there's a couple of other. There's a brand that does recycled denim into like a cotton. That's all I wrote down about that. But it is something I'm getting in, so I'll probably have some more information on my next podcast. I just feel like I've still got so much more to tell you, but I hope you're still with me. What I will do is I'll tell you the 2 winners of the prizes, and then I will give you a bit more of an update on some stuff that's going on in my shop. I'll just get the prizes. Okay, I will insert the screenshot of these 2 prize winners, and it will have their username as well as a comment that they left. And it was done by a random generator. So the first prize is this pink leather project bag, which is just stunning. It's got purple lining. It has the matching leather notions pouch, and it has a sweater quantity of this yarn that I've dyed up myself. So it's got 3 colours that are called Sparkling Grape. They are on my website, and the contrast colour is Champagne. They're beautiful. And I have just put in the back there, it's not the pattern, it's just a picture of the pattern as a pattern suggestion. But this one that I'm wearing now would be beautiful done in that. So there's that pack of yarn in this leather project bag with the leather notions pouch. And the winner to this is Heather Childhouse 495. So I will pop that down there so you can see. So if that is you, please contact me via email, and you can do that via my website, but it's shop@amindandknit.com. So that's Heather Childhouse 495. You have just won that, so thank you, and thank you very much for supporting my podcast and subscribing. The second prize is also a sweater quantity, and it's in, this colour's called Peach Fuzz and Champagne. These colours are on my website. So these have been dyed by myself. So there's 4 skeins of wool, and once again I've put a picture of the pattern just as inspiration. If you sort of get this yarn and think, oh, what do I do with it? So this is New Zealand wool and spun sock yarn. So it's all produced here in New Zealand, and it's been dyed by myself. And also a set of chalgoo. Now this is exciting. If you haven't got a set of chalgoo, you should have. They're the best needle set. But this is the 10 centimetre small set. This is a set that I always recommend. It's a set that I started off with. So you've won a sweater quantity of yarn and that set of chalgoo, and that's Linda Black 1472. So if that is you, please contact me via my email, and I will send that wherever you are in the world. I will send that to you. And once again, thank you for supporting my podcast. They are 2 really lovely prizes, and I hope the 2 winners are really, really happy with them. And my goal now is 5,000. Okay, so we're over 3,100. So my next goal is 5,000, then we'll have another big celebration. I might do one at 4,000. So that's the prize winners. I often talk about Elizabeth from Amikihia Knits. She's local to me here in this area, and she's a knitwear designer, and she's designed that cardigan that I'm doing, First Frost. We've done a collaboration together. So she has designed a garment in my Yarnadelic, which Yarnadelic's probably one of my biggest sellers yarns that I sell here. It's one of those yarns that once you use it, you'll keep going back to it. It's beautiful. But she has designed a pattern, and it's at the moment it's with the tech editors. I have seen it, and it's colour work. It's a colour work yoke jersey, and it's beautiful. So on my next podcast, it'll probably be finished. I'm pretty sure before then she'll do the call out for test knitters. So that's really exciting. I've not done a collaboration with a knitwear designer, so I'm pretty happy about that. The other thing, I'm just going through my shop update. I haven't got, oh yes I have. Yes, I have. This arrived about 4 o'clock yesterday, so I haven't even had it for 24 hours. Yarnadelic, every couple of years they produce 3 skeins, 3 colours that are limited edition, colours that will never be repeated. And they've done that this year, and I have been waiting probably for about 3 months, about 12 weeks for this order to come. So I have the 3 new colours, and they are beautiful, and they are limited, and they are on my website. The first one is called Moonage Daydream, and I know this light's not going to play very nicely. Oh, that's not bad. It's a green. It looks more blue there, but it's got a lot of teal. It's got blue in it, and that's what's showing up. But it's a greeny blue. But jump on my website and have a look. So that's Moonage Daydream. This one is called Space Talk. Oh, that is just beautiful. It's like a neutral, but it's got yellow and blue. It's just beautiful. That's Space Talk. And I love this one. This one's called Dark Star. And it's a dark brown, but it's got a lot of copper and gold in it. That's a better look. Oh, you can see it there. So it's definitely a dark brown, but with copper and gold. The images on my website are pretty good. They're the images that John Urban Textiles have supplied. So those 3, they're under Yarnadelic, and the 3 colours, they're marked as limited edition. So they only arrived yesterday. So that's that. Yeah, I will follow, if you follow me on social media, I will give you updates on the thread and maple, and also the all stitch markers, and also the new yarns that I'm going to get, and which will be cotton and linen type blend yarns. I'm done. I still do have things that I am going to hold back to my next podcast, because I don't want to bore you. I hope you've stuck with me for this long. I hope you've got a good hour or so knitting in, and I just want to thank you all for sharing your time with me. I know there's lots of podcasts that are out there, and if you've chose to spend your time with me, I really, really appreciate it. And that's all. Once again, I just want to thank everyone in Canada who I shared time with, and who our paths crossed, and the hospitality, like I said, to the ladies that I stayed with and hung out with. I just hope that one day I can return that hospitality here in New Zealand if you come, if you make your way over this side of the world. And it literally is the other side of the world. Like, it's such a long, long way away. But wow, what a memory, what a blast. It was really, really awesome. And I'm sure that I'll get to share little bits and bobs with you over the next coming months, because as I reflect, things keep coming back, and I was like, oh yeah, that was really good. So, and hopefully on my next podcast, I'll have some more knitting to show you, because I am aware that I've shown you a lot of yarn and a lot of patterns and not a whole lot of knitting, but that was always going to be the case after being away for so long. Anyway, thank you for spending this time with me. Please subscribe, please give it the thumbs up, feel free to leave comments. I always read them and reply, and I will see you in 2 to 3 weeks. Stay happy, stay healthy. If you're in New Zealand, stay warm. Do you know, I was in shorts in Canada. We had like between 24 and 30 degrees every day. I was wearing shorts. I've come home here. It's so cold. But anyway, stay warm. It's a great time for knitting, and I'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you. Bye.